one thing we might have forgotten since last Saturday is that while the world is in a whirlwind, we're also at the same time going through one of the most significant reallocations of capital in the defense sector that we've seen since the Cold War. Last year's numbers from CPRI were 2.3 trillion US dollars that were spent on military expenditure. In a few weeks, we'll see the numbers that are coming out from that. That is understandable given the security situation that we perceive, but as we were pointing out here the whole time, and your report lays out excellently, it's like there's other things also that matter. What we're doing at the moment and what we see from a security perspective, looking at this field, is that we're making actually a strategic error. We're separating security investment or defense investments. We're separating the business sector typically in a different category. We're separating the climate innovation. But that's complete fiction, right? We're living in a world that is interconnected, where all these things are related. And if we look specifically at the defense sector now, what we're doing is we're building last century's defense infrastructure for a world that have fundamentally changed. And I think that came out also with Jan Olof in the beginning, raising the point. And just to give you one illustration how I think about this, the game is not anymore chess. It's not, do I move a pawn, do I move the queen, or what is my strategy? Somebody has slipped out the chessboard and put some other board in. We're operating in a completely different space, so we don't even know what game we're playing anymore. That's what makes a lot of those things so complicated and so interrelated that we need to look at. And maybe to give you two examples from that we have come across, I think that illustrates that, one further away and one more at home. I was speaking recently with a big tech giant about their work, what they're doing in this sector. And they were talking about critical minerals, obviously, because they need that for their products. Well, they would like to source them from the Democratic Republic of Congo. Well, that doesn't work, right? Because there's a conflict ongoing. You can't also source them from Rwanda because, well, the same resources, right? So we have regulations and we have processes that obviously inhabit that for good reasons. Now, what this company then does is run a corporate social responsibility project, a human rights project in DRC. Well, that's great, but that's not going to change anything, right? We're siloing things out into separate things that make us feel better because, well, we're doing something, but that's not going to de-risk DRC and enable investment, enable opportunities to engage. So I think that is one aspect we need to start thinking about. And then if we take this thing further home to us and we're looking back at the defense space, I think one thing we're seeing is the same siloed thinking. And Aurore Belfrage and I wrote a recent piece in Dagens Industrie about the difficulties that we have with we're only keeping one thing in our minds at a time instead of realizing that, well, we have to juggle a couple of things at the same time. If it comes to defense investment, as I said, we are focusing very much on okay, let's secure that, let's secure the borders, let's invest in that, and climate change comes later. It's like, well, the reality is your defense investment is already undermined because of climate change impacts. It's from runways to your equipment drag to military use on, like a Swedish snowstorm. It's going to be, you're going to have Bandwagen coming out and the military helping you. In the wildfire responses, you have runways in the north buckling and the infrastructure being degraded. All these things are already there and happening right now and undermining the defense investment you're trying to make. And take the wind farms as another example, right? And I think that shows another part of that difficulty that we need to tackle. You know all the case, Sweden wanted to invest into wind farms in the Baltic, but didn't do it because of defense consideration, because it would interfere with air defense capabilities. Now, in this case, that was the right decision. But of course, at the same time, our solutions to fighting climate change and reducing emissions are not making a step forward. So in the long run, we're actually making us still more insecure. The point is, we need to keep both things in mind at the same time. And I think that is where the business sector is so important and to get things going. For me, it's like if our security investment isn't considering climate change and isn't climate proofed, it's bad investment. But also the reverse is, if your climate investment doesn't consider security, then it's absolutely naive in the current world we're living in. So how do we fix that? So we need to spend 5% GDP on defense. So that's the NATO numbers. At the same time, the European Central Bank is telling us that it's 2.7 to 3.7% of GDP that we need for the green transition. At the same time, we want to have a welfare state, and we want to, right? We're in a situation. How do we manage that? And I think here's where the business sector is one fundamental actor in driving the solutions forward, especially around innovation. You're raising that in the report. I think that's really important. It was raised by several in the discussion. But we need to find the solutions that are both making us more secure in the defense side, microgrids, battery systems that are giving us the defense resilience that we need, the societal resilience, but also the innovation in technology that help us de-risk areas in DRC, or that provide new opportunities for building livelihoods in these contexts, that then open up markets that are now impossible to get into, but that can be get into in the future.